and you're like, so I walked into Capitol Records in 1965, and like, either the Strangers were there or the Buckaroos were there. Like, what would it sound like? So that, I channeled that. Everywhere I turned, man, like the amount of talent there was insane. Like insanely good. I mean, and also very inspiring. Like even if you hadn't heard somebody, I just looked at the program like, well, there's 2 stages. So if I don't know somebody, my mind's going to be blown anyway. So I'm just going to I'm going to be a pinball. Man. I'm a musical pinball. I'm going to go back and forth and catch any good acts as I can.
Yeah. Man, that's always the thing about going to the festivals is the worst is when there's one band that you really want to see and then they're overlapping with another, but you waiting to hear this one particular song from this one band and you're like, okay, once I hear it, then I can bust my ass over and hopefully this other band didn't play the other song I really wanted to hear.
Totally, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot at Viva because there's so many bands and so many different papers. Like, crap. Well, yeah, and usually there's an escalator, stairs involved, and then somebody wanting to say howdy to you along the way.
Yeah.
So it's the walk. It's like, okay, look down and focus and get to the next stage as quick as I can.
You're like, I'm not trying to be antisocial with everybody, but there's a certain a pace you have to move at that lets people know that I'm moving from A to B or I'm moving from backstage to front stage. You can tell when someone has that pace.
Absolutely. And you learn to recognize it and get out of the way and not take it personal. And then hopefully that other people like, oh man, okay, so either you're on a mission or like if you're just moseying, which that's a word. It's so
it's fine to
describe the action perfectly. Like mosey, like it needs no other definition. Like we're moseying. I know exactly what that walk looks like. I know what that timing feels like. Like, gotcha. Let's mosey.
It's like when you're moseying, it's like, okay, people walk up where we can have a conversation as we're going from point A to point B. But when we're traveling,
exactly, man. When we're traveling, we're eastbound and down, doing it to it like Pruitt used to do it to it.
Man, speaking of eastbound and down, I love the kind of parody you did for COVID for Eastbound and Down. I'm a huge Jerry Reed fan. When he died, I got a tattoo right here. It says Eastbound and Down on it, and just playing that claw style and everything. I mean, he's just such a huge influence on everything that I do, and that's one of the cool things too is I can hear a little bit of that in your playing too, especially when you get into the little more kind of funky country stuff.
Yeah, man. That I love that funky sound that Jerry Reed gives. Like, it incorporates that banjo roll, and myself being a banjo player as well. Like, I'll hybrid pick where I'll put a pick in my hand and then use these guys, or just do a series of rolls with a pick. Like that combined with like Jerry Reed's sense of humor, which I freaking love.
Oh yeah. Especially like
it's that's inspirational too.
Yeah, and the Uptown Poker Club, like all that. It's man. he was just someone that you could tell was having fun. When he was doing it. I mean, there was no hiding the fact that he was having a damn good time when he was making music.
Yes, and that's such a good time when I play. Like I remember watching Jerry Reed and saying like, "What?" Or like Roy Clark. Like here are 2 people just like unabashedly showing their enthusiasm. Well, they're kicking butt on their instruments, man, and that's I love that. It's when you're hitting that, or like telling a story like Lord Mr. Ford, or she got the gold mine, I got the shaft. Like, I mean, any of us have driven, yes. Anybody who's been through, a rough breakup, yes. Like there's ways that you can laugh at that. I mean, when 20% what happens to you, 80% how you react to it. Like Jerry Reed is a master. Like, well, this happened. All right, that's 20%. Well, now the rest is up to me. How am I going to react to this?
So, Apparently,
You know,
his
like,
reaction was to write a
Lord,
kick-ass
Mr. Forward,
song.
I wish that you could see what your simple horseless carriage has become. I mean, like, instead of like, I broke it down. Man, owning old cars, I had spent many a time broken down on the side of the road. And eventually it got to be at the point where I would literally sing Jerry Reed songs when that would happen. Like, all right, good thing I carry tools. Let's fix it.
Yeah.
Lord, Mr. Ford, you can see.
Exactly. Especially when you're on tour, like, you got to have the one person in the band who's kind of the Mr. Fix-It, knows how to, you got the MacGyver of the band, then you have the one person who can run sound and everything. When you're touring, do you take the same rhythm section out with you, or do you pick folks up along the way?
That's a good question. Here in California, I try to take my band with me. Sometimes when I go to Southern California, I'll invite my drummer Les James to come down with me, and we'll pick up a bass player. Or if he can't do it, I'll play with some players in Southern California. With airline tickets or going overseas, usually I have the opportunity to play with other musicians backing me up there, and actually, that's fun too, because then you get to make music with different people who are also very talented.
Yeah.
And then the rest, and like the band here knows that, like, oh man, why did you take me with you? Like, well, strictly budget. It's nothing personal.
Yeah,
and it's understood. So there's no drama, nothing like that. And that's part of how this works. Like, when you go overseas, it's nice to have a band over there so that you can make music with them. You get that experience, and it also allows you to, when you do this for a living, it doesn't cost you money.
Right, because I mean, we do want to come out into the in the black, if you will, when you go out. There is a reason we go out. Money is for taking home, but yeah, at the same time, that's not the full experience of it. I think the reason we go out is that certain, I suppose, sense of wanderlust that I guess is attached to every troubadour that you can think of. What we want to do is we want to see different places, we want to meet different people, we want to share our music and spread good times and stuff like that. But the modern world is making it more and more difficult, especially with how many venues have closed because of all the craziness that went on. And when they're rebooking again, they're only looking for the marquee value bands first off, so indie artists like us, it's getting a little harder out there. But I think with good things like Ameripolitan and Viva and the Shake Up and things like that, we're making sure that there's always going to be a good place for good music to happen, in whether it's in Graceland or just in a really raw space, just giving a chance for something good to happen. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I'm a firm believer there's a solution to every problem.
Yeah.
So that there are, right now, the problem of venues closing is real. And I think I know, because I'm an eternal optimist, I know that at some point somebody's going to go, and it's happening already in some places. Like, we can't let this die.
Yeah.
What can I do to do this? And one of the things that has been really good, and I encourage anybody watching this interview to do, house parties. Absolutely. That's one of the great things that is a solution. Well, I used to go to this venue to see this band. Now this venue is not open. Well, I could just go, okay, well, darn. Or say, wait a minute, I know so-and-so has a house, or we can rent a venue for a minimal amount of money. Let's have a party there and just get all of our friends there. And what's cool about that, everybody chooses to be there. So instantly, like a festival where everybody's chosen to be there, there's an initial excitement and buzz already built up around the party. Everybody who's going wants to be there. Mm-hmm. And so when you're playing, like, you take the stage, everybody's like this, like, okay, we're ready. Like that's a great solution. Yeah. And then they can tell their friends, say, hey, we're going to this really cool house party. We're going to this venue that's rented to both see and hear a band. and their friends, oh wow, that's cool, that's different, I'm down. There are logistical things that have to be taken into consideration, but that was one of the things coming out of the lockdown that really kept myself and other players working, was house parties.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
you charge an admission, and people know what it's for, and like, hey, this is to cover the band, and let's do it. And then you have a good time, and you realize that you have way more say in keeping the music you want to keep around, and that's very empowering and very inspiring.
Well, there's something about going somewhere where every single person is there wants to be there. It's not,
Yeah.
well, this place has beer and there happens to be a band there, and they didn't turn the television off in the corner while you were playing and that kind of thing. Instead, it's people genuinely, they're coming to a location that that sense of community is there that we almost had, I don't know, before a lot of the internet, even when you would have to call somebody and be like, yo, what's going on? And if they didn't answer, they didn't answer. You know what I mean? But
Right.
if you were in the know, you were in the know. So you knew what was going on no matter what. I think house parties as we get older, I think they're not nearly as treacherous. I had several when I was younger, and they'd end up with like stuff getting stolen, and I think someone like pissed in my mom's shoe closet.
Therein lies the logistical thing, and that's
Well, it's the difference between youth and age. When you have young little, I suppose, immature folk over in those earlier years, they're not there for good intentions. Whereas the house parties you're talking about, it's good intentions. As adults decide that they want to congregate somewhere, typically they show a lot of respect.
Absolutely.
Like, man, I was just checking out some of your YouTube videos, and I absolutely love the Ennio Morricone set that you do.
Thank you.
It was kind of cool because listening to your instrumental music, also you have the Carbonara track where it kind of starts with the intro, the wind, and the cat walking up. You can hear the spurs. And funny enough,
Yeah.
I have the same thing kind of in one of my songs. And I couldn't believe it. When I first heard it, I was like, okay, this cat's really onto something. And then, all the Joe Maphis style picking. And, there's waltzes in there and two steps. I've dug your music for a long time, and I'm really looking forward to this new record.
Thank you, Skip. I'm really excited about it too, man. It's a musical buffet and a cross section of a lot of different artists and sounds that have influenced me over the last 25 years.
Cool, man. I can't wait to hear it. Like, can you give any spoilers? Just a little bit?
Sure. I've got everything from a Hank Garland instrumental that I learned from the godfather of my band and my guitar teacher, Steve Sage. The Sugarfoot Rag is my take on it, to a Waylon Jennings song, because Waylon Jennings is a huge influence of mine.
Yeah.
Freaking hero. Also, what's really special on the album is my dear friend Deke Dickerson. It appears on two songs as
Fantastic.
well. One that I've already recorded on CD, but it's become such an international favorite that we decided to put it on record on Sleazy Records, so that people would have to do it again. And it's this one's not a spoiler. This is to get you excited. We re-recorded $2 Bill, complete with 3-part harmony ephing by Deke, and vocal harmonies as well. And it came out so well. I'm so happy with that. We also put a Brother Claude Eli tune on there called Love Rolled the Shadows Away, which is something that I hold very, very dear, that the power of love is just as powerful and valid as the dark side. So it can roll the shadows away if you practice it. And so that's on there as well. There's an original I wrote in the studio.
Those are the best.
That I had lyrics, and I've been playing around with the form, and it was a really captivating moment. All of a sudden, it started raining buckets outside, and in Malaga, Spain, that's not a rare occurrence. And our engineer Maxi says like this happens once, maybe every 5 years. So we just listened to the rain pounding outside, and there was a break in the recording, and I felt compelled. It was like the muse was knocking. Whenever the muse knocks, no matter what time it is, please come in, and also ask the muse to come in. And I said, all right, I'm just going to let what happens happen. I started strumming a feel for it, and the melody started going. And then Jesus Lopez, my Spanish hermano, started just playing a 6/8 time, which I hadn't envisioned. But when he started playing it, it seemed like it was always in 6/8, the song.
Uh-huh.
And out of this beautiful like inhale and almost a pause in time, the song was born, and it's unlike anything I've written or recorded. And everybody in the room liked it so much that, you know what, let's keep it. So that's going to be on the record too. And I'm excited for people to hear that, because I've never written or recorded a song like this before. So and I really want to tell you what it's about, but I want people to listen to it first.
Exactly. I mean, that's enough intrigue built up right there.
It came from a place that I couldn't have gone to until now in my life. Let me just put it like that.
I get that. I understand. It's funny how we start off, with certain kind of musical influences in the beginning, and as we go through life, I mean, not only listen to different things that kind of creep in there and make their way, but also our literal experiences, they shape the kind of music that we know, the kind of music that we play, the kind of music we relate to. And there's something about being able to capture a sound that you can only find once you're at a certain point in your life where you've reached a certain kind of almost musical maturity. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah. I mean, learning and experiencing life in music is so similar, because it's exponential and compound, meaning like whatever happens is rolled into your existence.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you learn, you choose to keep and then build on it. It's not like learn it and forget it. And when we take time to reflect and learn from life experiences, both good and bad,
mm-hmm.
and also look at choices we've made and say, well, that was a good choice, or how can I learn from that one?
Yeah.
We either win or we learn. We don't lose unless we choose to or do so. But with, like you said, musical maturity, I still approach music with childlike wonder. And
good.
I'm a big believer in magic. And then the maturity comes from technique, comes from
right.
studying it, performing it, honing it. I mean, practice your craft until it becomes an art.
Mm-hmm.
That's so.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've always enjoyed about watching your live performances is not only the fact that you're having fun, everyone else can tell you're having fun, but also that you make it look so effortless. And I've always really kind of appreciated that, like the note accuracy that you have, and stuff. For example, when you get your guitar up and you're not really looking at it and you're still just dead on accurate. It's a killer player, man. I love watching you play.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I strive for is, my Uncle Pete says, evenness is godliness. So when you are playing, I get that sucker so even. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I've incorporated this as part of my show too. I'll blindfold myself and I'll pick, and then I will listen back to it and think, all right, where's my economy of motion? Doc Watson is one of my favorite guitar players, and
mm-hmm.
He is without. So when I listen to Doc's playing, it makes so much sense. It's so efficient. The melody is there, the ornamentation is there, yet the ornamentation doesn't overpower
mm-hmm.
the melody, and it's brilliant. It's articulate. It's clean. It's soulful. It's from someplace beyond, and it's also incredible technique.
Oh yeah. Speaking of melody, that's another thing I really have always appreciated when you would go and take solos. Like for example, like "Too Loaded to Get Lucky." The solo on that literally sounds like you're singing the words, and I really appreciate that because that's kind of that old Nashville sort of thing that they would try to do. Like they don't want you wailing on the blues over it. They want you to be able to sing the lead, and
Yes.
when you can pull that off, it's really the sign of a great musician. And yeah, you really knock that kind of thing out of the park. So I just had to tell you that.
Thank you, Skip. One, it means a lot that you've listened that closely to it. And, two, the melody is the fingerprint of the song.
Oh yeah,
And the song
absolutely.
is the most important band member. So,
Mm-hmm.
and playing the melody too, that helps you, the audience, the band member, stay engaged. So, like if you're doing a 9:30 to 1:30 at a honky tonk, and you're only a three-piece band, like how do you keep yourself, the band, and the audience engaged
Right,
while
right.
you take self?
Mm-hmm.
And learning the melody is great too because it gets you out of the pentatonic box,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it teaches you chord structure. A melody tells you where to go and when to go there,
Yeah.
and that's really fun learning because if you're in a three-piece band and you're the only one taking a solo,
Mm-hmm.
you learn the melody in three different octaves: down here,
Yeah.
middle of the neck, up the neck.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to improve as a guitar player because then you're like, if you can't figure out the melody in any one of those places, then that's a great opportunity to get better and figure it out as well as do justice to the song you're playing.
Yeah, that's the sign of a good guitar player is being able to nail that head and nail that melody because one wrong note, and it takes away from the magic. You're singing along and then you play one wrong note and the person is singing along in their head is like, whoa, hold on, hold on, hold on. They don't know it, you don't know it, but there's just something about being able to nail that accuracy. And that's one thing that you do, like in spades. How long have you been playing, Mitch?
Well, let's see. I got my first guitar from my mom in 1993, and I was 13, and she gave me a nylon string guitar, which I still have, book of chords, and we Johnny Cash live at Folsom Prison on LP.
Okay, that's one way to do it.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I learned Folsom Prison Blues. It was my very first song I ever performed, and that was in Memorial Day weekend of '93, and I played it at a church camp. It's a congregational church, so we did gospel music, but also you could do other types of music, and it was a very loving audience. So I got up there and performed the worst version of Folsom Prison Blues, but I knew I was like, all right, this is what I want to do, and then I taught myself guitar just from learning it until 1999 when I started my band, Mitch Polzak and the Royal Deuces. Then it was just called the Royal Deuces. And I had the great opportunity of meeting a gentleman by the name of Steve Sage, who just opened the musical door of how to combine technique, theory, and just make it all work. And Steve is with me on every single show. He's since passed, but only in a physical form. His spirit has not only touched me, but so many. And every show, like Steve's checking in. He's like, "Hold yourself to it, man." And it's cool. So I've been playing since then.
So he really taught you to really, I guess, chase the chords and find the melody instead of just kind of noodle the pentatonic over it. Like to really find the voicings inside of each and bring that out, right?
Yes, Skip, you just hit the nail on the head, man. For our listeners, I know we're geeking out here, but
that's why they tune in.
Listeners who don't play music, but basically, yes, to stay within the chord structure combined with the scale, there are all your melody notes and your harmony notes, and then how you put it together is the art. Anybody, you can play a melody, that's the song, but how you interpret the melody, how you harmonize the melody, how you adorn the melody, how you phrase the melody, both vocally and instrumentally, that sitting down with that and coming up with the arrangement that sounds like you, then you're cooking.
Yeah, when you can hum it in your head and then play it out and still make sure that I suppose it fits the chords, then I mean, really what more is there to the job right there at that point? You know, I mean there's obviously you can throw your flash in there because that's kind of what we do.
Oh man, I mean, I think that's when the work stops and the fun begins.
Yeah. Yeah, when you can kind of let go just a little bit on actually having to chase the chords and pull out a Freddie King lick.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. Incorporating licks of your heroes in there is always fun as well.
Yeah, I've always said that aside from my music that I write, I try to just fit the music to the lyrics that's inside my head because most of my music is telling stories. I give you the meat and potatoes and let you do the rest with your imagination. And when it comes to making sure that the solo fits, there's always that like, do I match it to the chords or do I chase that fever? You know, when you're improvising and you get in the zone, it's really hard to maintain discipline when you've learned all your cool flashy licks. How old were you when you very first started gigging out, man?
I was 19.
19? Yeah.
Yep.
What kind of stuff? Just country?
Yeah, country, rockabilly.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty, I grew up listening to this music, and it's always been the music I've wanted to play, but I've never limited myself to just one genre. Like, I like what I play, and I play what I like. I have very, very open mind.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Want to learn it all. But this form of music, I won't even say genre. This form of music is the one that makes the most sense to me,
Right.
and what I resonate with the deepest. So that's when I started the Royal Deuces. I started the band to play this music,
Mm-hmm.
and not only just to play, but to play it to people who haven't heard it or have a preconceived notion of what it is or what it isn't, or who plays it, who doesn't play it, and to educate people that this music is really, really cool. It's not just something that existed for a flash in the pan in the past, or that just one type of person listens to it.
Right.
So I play it with that conviction as well, to not only entertain, but educate. One of my favorite things when I finish a show is people come up and say, I didn't know I like country music. Well, there's a lot of bad country music out there.
Yeah.
So we have to sift through that and say, oh, well, I'm so glad. Do you know who Buck Owens is? No. Do you know who Merle Haggard is? No. And instead of, as artists, anytime you ask that, never be condescending, but instead, oh, great. Your musical life is about to get way more interesting. Check out these artists. So if somebody leaves your show and you've been an ambassador for the artists and sounds that you love, not only have you inspired the people who know and love the music, who have come to hear you perform that music, you have additionally reached other people who are now going to take it upon themselves to enjoy that discovery. And they have the joy of saying, look what I discovered.
Right.
And as we know, when you feel like you've discovered something or you have discovered something, I can't wait to show other people this discovery. Look how cool this is. Like, hey, I just heard about this artist, Buck Owens. I just heard about this artist, Red Simpson. I just heard about this artist, Merle Haggard. I mean, obviously, you can tell Bakersfield music plays a huge part in my sound. Or, I just heard about this bluegrass, this style called bluegrass, or Ralph Stanley, or Flat Scruggs, or Doc Watson, or something like that. Or I just heard about Lightning Hopkins, or Howlin' Wolf, or Mance Lipscomb, or something like that. And then, the list goes on. And then people hopefully go out, listen to it, and turn their friends onto it. And the music we love stays present.
Well, between that and I'm sure they're going to tell their friends about this amazing band that they saw, and this guy named Mitch, who had this huge guitar, and it sounded super clean and chimey, and, just things that sort of blow people's mind when they're exposed to when it's done right. It's, you know, it's the same with Western swing, with hot swing, with any of that. When it's done right, you can see a visceral reaction in the crowd, and your personality is
absolutely.
extremely disarming. So
Yeah, man, getting the ghost. And I remember my dad always saying, "Son, do it right."
when you decided that you were gonna make this new record, I mean, I know when I listen to a lot of your old stuff, you know, you mentioned Bakersfield sound. I can hear a lot of that kind of Don Rich and picking and stuff too. And you know, as we make music, we give, I suppose, tribute to our heroes and whatnot. And is there any tracks on this one where you were like, okay, this one particular artist I gave a serious nod to?
Yeah, absolutely. My arrangement of Sugarfoot Rag, I incorporated, well, Hank Garland, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and Joe Maphis, Junior Brown.
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, clean, clean picking,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah.
And then the Waylon song, definitely channeled that in there. I didn't have, you know, a steel player in for this session, so I overdubbed beat bender guitar to channel the Ralph Mooney parts, but also on that song, you know, I used the Telecaster instead of my Guild Super 200,
Mm-hmm.
and really, you know, did the hybrid picking like the Wetland would do on that. So when you listen to that, like, you know, oh yeah, obviously, I mean, it's a Wetland cover, so
Right, right.
you know, and then, you know, there's an original song on there that I wrote that is very Bakersfield heavy. So like, I try to emulate, you know, if I walked into Capitol Records in 1965, and like, you know, either the Strangers were there or the Buckaroos were there, like, what would it sound like? So that, you know, I channeled that, did the telly again on that too, and also overdubbed Beat Bender to do, you know, some steel influence, you know,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
phrasing. So when folks listen to that, they'll be able to go, "Oh yeah, sure." Or hopefully they will. You know, yeah.
Yeah, like,
That's well, they go, "Oh, that's just good music," you know, and that's the
yeah,
most important thing.
yeah.
Like, if they get a good feeling, I've done my job.
Yeah, like you said, being an ambassador of music of the past, you know, when they hear that kind of real super clean, I like to call it sewing machine guitar, like with
Yeah.
with Joe Maphis and you know, Hank Garland and that kind of thing, just a real fast, clean picking. I love that, and obviously, you know, with me being a huge Danny Gatton fan, I'm a hybrid picking nut too, and I saw that, you know, one of the things that I really dig about some of the music that you make is your rhythm parts that you use for hybrid. You know, you're doing the hybrid picking and you're singing at the same time. And some of the ones that just kind of have that vamp, you know, that drone that just stays on the one while you're, you know, kind of playing around with the chord and stuff like that. When you first learned to play guitar from your teacher, was hybrid picking part of the curriculum?
No, a little bit. I was just so green at that time that
Yeah.
everything was part of the curriculum. But
Yeah,
um,
totally.
the hybrid picking evolved because I'm a huge Merle Travis fan as well.
Yeah.
You know, I love having in a three-piece band, having that rhythmic drone on the low strings while there's some goodness going on the high strings
So
really fills
cool.
out the sound. So it was both out of love and
Mm-hmm.
necessity.
I figured it was to fill up the sound, but yet at the same time, it's so cool. And you know, when you got the slap back going, it's a tough sound. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I don't ever want to play filler though, man. I have this motto: all killer, no filler.
so not only you play guitar, but you rip banjo like crazy, and that's not an easy instrument. You know, being able to get the rolls down and stuff. I had a friend who would literally practice the rolls on the seam of his pants as he was driving down the road. And being a hybrid picker, I imagine that, you know, some of that just kind of naturally brings itself in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I remember when I was learning banjo, I wouldn't even do anything. I was taught by a guy named Bill Evans, who's a great picker. And, you know, he would stress the importance of keeping these two fingers down and you roll with this hand.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even use the left hand. I would just sit there, you know, thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, index, thumb, middle, and then learn the different styles of rolls.
Forward
and,
roll,
and
backward
very
roll.
within those rolls.
Totally.
Yeah, start slow. You know, that's what's going to give you the precision. You know.
Yeah.
You know, that's what gives you the accuracy. You know, the relaxed precision.
Exactly.
And that's what gives you the accuracy.
It's really like anything. Once you burn it into your long-term synapses slowly, then naturally you can speed it up because you already have the muscle memory sort of built in like that. When it comes to banjo, there's so much treble that slow is a good way to practice because it's not an instrument you just want to jump on right away and play badly because there's just so much treble.
That's a good social litmus test.
Right on, dude. If you have any plugs that you want to put out there, man, now's the time.
Well, we'll see. The new record that I recorded with the Calagas, which is the band I play with and tour with and record with in Spain, which is Jesus Lopez on drums and Francis Beard on bass, and sometimes rhythm guitar, and Jarque Miguel on bass. Jarque is on the album. Francis is on a tour with me, as well as my dear, dear friend and hillbilly big brother in the music business, Deke Dickerson, also on the album. I'm so excited about this album. It's really a big cross section of influences. I'll be also releasing this year an album I recorded with Ronnie Crutcher.
I love Ronnie. He's such a good dude.
Ronnie is awesome.
The whole Casino family are great people.
Oh man, I feel like I've known you my whole life.
Yeah.
So Ronnie and I recorded an album at the Rock House just outside of Nashville with Kevin McKendry, and that album sounds great.
Yeah.
That'll be released. In addition to that, in November, I'll be releasing a Cajun album that I produced and played on with Jimmy Breaux, who is a Grammy-winning accordion player, and Blake Miller, who is an incredible fiddle player and vocalist, along with my dear friends out here who adopted me into the Cajun scene, Billy Longhead Wilson and David the Killer Heimowitz on drums. And we recorded this entire album in one afternoon, live, including the vocals.
So cool.
Nothing is okay. Because Blake and Jimmy were in here from playing with us, and they're here, visiting from Louisiana. So we had one afternoon, and we got an entire album done at the Wally Sound, which is a place I've recorded at many times, and one of the only studios and engineers I know who can make this happen. And man, it is awesome. We even put 2 Bakersfield tracks on there, and then give it a Cajun feel, and that will be coming out in November. So there are 3 albums that are going to be coming out this year. So I'm really excited about that. And, through my website, mitchpolzak.com, as well as Instagram and Facebook, I will be spreading the word on this as much as possible, and then also relying on word of mouth. If you like it, post it. If you don't like it, that will, if just somebody cares enough to say I don't like this, that's obviously also going to make somebody listen. So, but I'm just so proud of all 3 of these albums and the people who I get to work with. That's one of the big things.
Yeah,
I'm so happy about. There's 3 different albums coming out with 3 different sounds, all with world-class players, and that's talk about a dream coming true, and also an opportunity to entertain and educate.
Yeah.
That's going to happen with the release of these 3 albums.
That's one thing I have to say about, even people you'll be working with and the stuff that you've made in the past it's good. It's good music. You work with good people who can play really well.
I'm only in competition with myself. If I can play better than I could yesterday, that's the only thing that matters to me. Music is a collaboration. I don't view it as a competition, except with one's own self.
That's so genuinely cool, because one of the interesting things that you told me was that you were a politician for a while. and being able to come off with a genuine presence like what you have, and being able to genuinely make music for yourself and have that sort of authentic thing is not something that you find in a lot of people that decide to hold office. And what got you to decide that you wanted to run for office?
I live in the town of Port Costa, which is only 200 people, and we're unincorporated, and pretty much anybody can run for mayor.
Yeah.
But the former mayor I really liked, and unfortunately he just passed last year. But when his term was up, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give this a try, because it was suggested that I should. So I ran with a 12-year-old guy named Cooper at the time. So we ran for mayor, because kids can vote in Port Costa, and Cooper was in charge of the youth vote.
Okay.
So we ran together as mayor. So I shared the title mayor of Port Costa as co-mayor with Cooper, and we did 2 terms, 3 years each. And basically it was to use the title for good. So there was fundraisers that we would do, car shows we would do. So when you are, when you're drumming up interest or support for your cause, when you can introduce yourself as, hi, I am the mayor or co-mayor of Port Costa.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to listen a lot more than just like, guy out here wants me to do something for this town I've never heard of.
Right.
But then you use the title for good.
Exactly. The joyful warrior.
Anytime you can use anything for good,
right,
do it. And that way you're not in anybody's pocket. You're not part of an agenda. What are my tools that I have to create the best life to live for myself and those around me? And that, using that position of co-mayor was exactly that. And then other times, like, a dog could be mayor.
In Kentucky, that happened. My buddy Andrew Fletcher in Asheville, he's actually, I think, episode 4 of this podcast. He was in office himself. So I find it really interesting when musicians run for office with the title of the joyful warrior. You're there to do good. I think it's really cool, because politics needs more of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been such a blast.
Thank you so much for asking me, Skip. I love our conversation. It doesn't even feel like a show. It feels like a good conversation. Well, it is a good conversation. It's a good conversation between like-minded individuals.
Well, I might have to be the first of many.
Yes, I second that.
Thanks so much, Mitch. I can't wait for this record. I'm sure everybody else can't wait to hear it either. And man, I'll catch you around.
Yeah, Skip, absolutely, man. Let's just keep in touch in general.
Absolutely. Maybe we can hook up and see if we can make some crazy music in the future.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Take care of yourself.
You too, Skip.
Bye, Mitch. All right. That'll be all for today. Remember, peace, love throughout the world, and don't forget to rock and roll.